Billy, a name as ordinary as sunshine. He was sunshine once, bright, laughing, a child trailing joy like a kite tail.
We were inseparable, Billy and I, two halves of a summer, days spent lost in woods, building forts, chasing fireflies. Billy always the leader, always with a mischievous glint in his eye.
He lived on the edge of town in a rambling Victorian house, a grand old place full of shadows even on the sunniest day. Billy's parents, they were kind, always a plate of cookies waiting.
His mom, she'd smile, call us rascals, ruffle Billy's hair.
He'd grin, that easy grin that could melt your heart.
Then it began, slowly, insidiously. The laughter faded, the light in his eyes dimmed, he grew quiet, withdrawn, like a flower starved of sunlight wilting before your eyes. Summer waned, school started. Billy wasn't the same. He'd sit in the back, staring out the window. His laughter, once so infectious, was gone, replaced by a silence that felt heavy, unsettling.
He stopped coming out to play. His mom would say he wasn't feeling well. I'd see him sometimes peering from his bedroom window. His face, pale and gaunt. His eyes, once full of mischief, now held a strange, unsettling intensity.
One day, I saw him carving something into his desk, strange symbols like nothing I'd ever seen. When he saw me looking, he slammed his notebook shut, his face contorted in anger. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through me.
This wasn't Billy. This was something else.
His room. It became a forbidden chamber. His parents, their faces etched with worry, made excuses. Billy needed his privacy, they'd say, but their voices wavered, their eyes darting nervously towards his closed door.
At night, I'd lie awake, listening to the silence from his house. A silence broken only by the creak of floorboards, the rustle of unseen things. Sometimes I'd hear whispers, low guttural sounds, emanating from his room. My blood would run cold.
What was happening to my friend?
The fear was a living thing now, coiling in my gut. I knew with chilling certainty that something was terribly, terribly wrong.
The air grew thick with unspoken dread. Billy's parents, their faces drawn and pale, barely spoke. The house, once warm and inviting, now felt cold, oppressive. The laughter was gone, replaced by an unsettling silence.
One night I couldn't take it anymore. Driven by a fear I couldn't name, I crept into his backyard, drawn to the darkened window of his room. The window was locked, but through the dusty glass, I saw him.
He was hunched over something on the floor, his back to me. Candles flickered, casting grotesque shadows on the walls. The air was thick with the smell of something foul, like rotting meat. And the whispers, they were louder now. A chorus of voices, twisted and wrong.
Terror, raw and primal, seized me. I stumbled back, my heart pounding against my ribs. I ran, blindly through the darkness, the whispers and the stench of decay clinging to me. I didn't stop until I reached the safety of my own home, slamming the door shut against the night.
Days turned into weeks. The fear remained a constant companion. I avoided Billy's house, my steps quickening whenever I passed by. The whispers, the shadows, the smell, they haunted my dreams.
Then, one day I saw her, Billy's mother. She looked gaunt, her eyes red-rimmed and hollow, but there was a flicker of hope in them as she caught my eye.
He asks for you, she whispered, her voice hoarse. He remembers you.
A sliver of the old Billy, the boy I thought was lost, flickered in my memory. The boy who loved laughter, who chased fireflies, who built forts in the woods. Could he still be in there, trapped beneath whatever darkness had taken hold?
His room. It was worse than I could have imagined. Darker, colder, the air thick with the smell of decay. The walls were covered in strange symbols, the same ones I'd seen him carving into his desk. Candles flickered, casting grotesque shadows that danced and writhed like living things.
And in the center of the room, lying on a mattress on the floor, was Billy. He was thinner than I remembered, his skin pale and clammy. His eyes, though, they were still Billy's eyes. Haunted, yes, but with a flicker of recognition as he saw me.
Quietly, almost a whisper. He didn't speak. He just stared at me, his gaze intense, pleading.
And for the first time, I noticed the chains. Thick, rusty chains, shackling his wrists and ankles to the bedposts. Billy, my friend, was a prisoner in his own home.
The whispers started then, low and guttural, seeming to emanate from the walls themselves. The air grew colder, the stench of decay overwhelming. I knew then, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that we were not alone.
I visited Billy every day. His parents, their faces etched with a mixture of fear and relief, allowed it. They didn't understand what was happening to their son, but they clung to the hope that I, his friend, might somehow reach him.
He never spoke, but he'd watch me, his eyes following my every move. I'd tell him stories of our adventures, of sunny days spent chasing fireflies and building forts. Sometimes I'd catch a flicker of recognition in his eyes, a ghost of a smile on his lips.
But then the whispers would start, growing louder, more insistent. The air would grow cold, the shadows lengthening, and the fear would return, clutching at my throat, reminding me that something was terribly, terribly wrong.
One day I found him clutching a small wooden box. It was ornately carved, the same strange symbols etched into its surface. The whispers grew louder as he held it, the air growing thick with menace. I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that the box held something evil, something that was poisoning my friend. The storm broke on a night of torrential rain. The wind howled like a banshee, rattling the windows of my room. Sleep was impossible. The fear, a constant companion now, held me in its grip.
Then I heard it. A blood-curdling scream ripped from the night. Billy! I scrambled out of bed, my heart pounding against my ribs. Through the driving rain, I saw it. A light flickering in the window of Billy's room. Fear, raw and primal, surged through me. But I didn't hesitate. I had to help him. I had to try.
I raced out into the storm, the rain stinging my face, the wind whipping at my clothes. As I neared the house, the screams grew louder, more desperate. The front door was unlocked. I burst inside, my heart pounding in my chest. The air was thick with the smell of ozone and something else, something foul and ancient. The hallway was dark, lit only by flashes of lightning. The screams were coming from Billy's room. I raced towards the sound, my blood turning to ice. The door was open. Candles flickered, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. The room was in chaos. Furniture overturned, books and papers scattered across the floor. And in the center of the room where Billy's bed had been, there was nothing but a scorched mark on the floor. Billy was gone.
The whispers were deafening now, swirling around me, mocking my fear. The air crackled with energy, and then I saw it. Lying on the floor amidst the debris was the wooden box. It was open, empty.
I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that whatever evil had taken root in my friend had now been unleashed upon the world. And I was powerless to stop it. They never found Billy. The police searched, questioned, investigated, but it was as if he had vanished into thin air. His parents, their faces etched with grief and despair, eventually moved away. The house stood empty, a silent testament to the horror that had unfolded within its walls.
But the fear remains. It lingers in the shadows, whispers on the wind, a constant reminder that some things cannot be explained. Some doors are best left unopened, and some evils, once unleashed, can never be contained.
I still dream of that night, of the storm, the screams, the empty room. And sometimes, in the silence of the night, I hear them, the whispers, low, guttural, filled with a malice that chills me to the bone. They are a warning, I know. A promise that the evil that took Billy is still out there, waiting, watching,